The Israel-Hamas war has taken a deadly turn. Just a day ahead of US President Joe Biden's visit to Israel, a hospital was allegedly bombed in one of Gaza's densely populated areas. According to initial reports, over 500 people lost their lives after this strike. Now, this is what initially came to light from the Hamas-run ministry in Gaza and shocked the world. But in subsequent hours, the story continued to turn. Israeli authorities have completely denied striking this hospital and instead released images and sound evidence to suggest that it was actually an Islamic Jihad group rocket fired towards Israel that blew up in the air and fell on the compound or the car park of this hospital. Palestinian and Arab countries, of course, continue to blame Israel for it. Protests were staged at Israel's embassies in Turkey and Jordan, for example. And even USA has had to issue advisories for its citizens in many countries. All of this happened even as US President Joe Biden was to touch down in Israel, and many wondered if this was a false flag operation to condemn Israel and push global powers to go back to some extent on their support to Israel's counteroffensive in Gaza. As it stands, Biden has strongly backed the Israeli claim and its military campaign against Hamas. Earlier, Biden was scheduled to visit Jordan as well, but Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and Jordan's King Abdullah have pulled out of this so-called Arab summit post this blast news. Will we ever really know who is to blame? It's tough to say. Was the hospital attack an Israeli action or a misfire by Hamas and Islamic Jihad? And regardless of who you believe, what impact is this likely to have on the ground situation? We'll take those questions to our guests joining us in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at the statements that have been made by Israel and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, which is one of the groups that fights alongside terror group Hamas and is being blamed for this particular rocket strike that fell into this hospital. So Israel, of course, has said that Islamic Jihad is responsible for this attack, while the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is saying that the Zionist regime, which is Israel, is trying hard to evade responsibility over this deadly strike. Israel says that Islamic Jihad's rocket misfired, it broke up in midair, and then one of the portions fell into the hospital and hit the hospital. Islamic Jihad says the accusations by the Israeli army are false. Remember, Israel has, of course, come out to say in repeated statements to the media and even press conferences that there are footages and audio evidences that show and prove that Islamic Jihad's role is beyond doubt, and they are trying to pin this on Israel to somehow garner sympathy because of what has happened after Hamas attack. But Islamic Jihad says that this is usual fabrication of lies by pointing fingers at us. Of course, Israel has said that as far as the situation is concerned, it is not okay to go by terror groups' words and actions, and it is their strategy and has been their strategy for a long time to do exactly this. But let me just bring you some of those videos and images that have come to light. So this is one of those videos that has come to light that actually supposedly, allegedly captures the moment of that particular missile which was fired allegedly from Gaza towards Israel but blew up mid-air and then fell. One of those portions fell into the compound of the car park of the hospital. So this is the moment where the missile blows up mid-air and then it continues to fall down, and suddenly, precisely at that time, you see this blast take place, and this is the blast site that has been identified as the blast site of the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital. Of course, Israel has also released some images to suggest that these are radar footage which show that multiple rockets were fired from that particular point and the hospital was on its way. It's also important to note here is that there is a high percentage of the Hamas and Islamic Jihad missiles and rockets that actually do not reach their intended target and fall within their own territory. Important to also point out here exactly what is the American view. That's what everybody was waiting for, because this news was breaking all across the world as the American president was making his way to Tel Aviv. So today he discussed with Israel their offensive plans against Hamas and how they're going to ensure minimum civilian casualties. He has backed the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu over the hospital attack in Gaza and has said the following. He has said that Hamas atrocities make the ISIS look more rational, and this is really what has angered many of the global powers, just the brutality with which Hamas has slaughtered the Israeli citizens. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. The US president continuing to make that distinction. He has said he is deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion, mind the word, explosion that has taken place at this hospital. But he went on to back Israeli claims to say that the Al-Ahli Hospital blast was caused by the other side and not by Israel. And many news outlets, frankly, that initially reported the Israeli strike have also gone back on it, and there is also no clarity really on the number of casualties that were being touted to as large as 500 when the news initially broke. But the big question is this: we're at a very important stage of this conflict in the Middle East. Exactly whose version is going to be believed? Can there be definitive proof in this, whether this was Israel action or Hamas misfire? And what impact is this likely to have on the ground situation? Let's take that to our guests.
The IDF has concluded an after-action review and confirmed that the Islamic Jihad was responsible for the strike at the Al-Ahli Hospital in Gaza.